Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready to dive into some ESG reporting stuff. We're looking at AuditBoard's new research report. It's called The Coming ESG Reporting Imperative. It's got all the latest on regulations and what they mean, for businesses.
And it's a good thing you're here because this report, well, it's not just a little update. This is a whole new way to think about ESG.
Yeah, it really does feel different this time. Like we're moving away from voluntary reporting and now ESG disclosures are just non-negotiable.
Exactly. It's a global shift to mandatory regulations and, Europe's leading the charge. By 2025, their Corporate Social Responsibility Directive, CSRD, it's going to hit 50,000 companies. And the fines, well, they're not messing around.
50,000 companies. Wow. What does that even mean for companies over here?
Good question. And the report, it actually looks at North America too. Even if the CSRD doesn't directly apply to you, this global push is going to have ripple effects.
Speaking of ripples, North America seems to be catching up kind of fast. The report mentioned the SEC is proposing some big rule changes. What are we talking about here?
Oh yeah, the SEC is stepping up their game. These proposed rules, they could be finalized later this year. We're talking mandatory reporting on Scope 1 and 2 emissions. And, get this, for accelerated filers, even attestation reports might be required.
Attestation reports. For those of us who don't speak accountant, what does that even mean?
Basically, it means a third party, someone independent, would come in and verify that a company's ESG emissions data is accurate. Adds a layer of, credibility.
Gotcha. No more fudging the numbers then. What about Scope 3 emissions? The report said that was a big deal. What's so important about Scope 3?
It's a really crucial point. Scope 3 emissions, they're all the emissions from your entire value chain. Suppliers, transportation, even how people use your products, it's all in there. Understanding your impact on a much bigger scale.
So it's not just what happens inside your own company anymore. It's about taking responsibility for your whole sphere of influence.
Precisely. And this is where it gets tricky for a lot of companies, especially, when you think about the impact on suppliers down the line. A lot of companies haven't, traditionally collected this type of data. Getting that level of transparency, not so easy.
Yeah, sounds like a logistical nightmare. But before we get into how to manage all this, let's talk about the why for a second. The report talks about the cost of compliance. And let's be real, it's not cheap.
True, there is an investment involved. The report cited some SEC figures, estimating first-year compliance at around $640,000 and then about $530,000 each year after that. But honestly, that's nothing compared to what you might face if you don't comply.
That's what I was thinking. The cost of non-compliance, that can be huge. Fines, lawsuits, not to mention what it does to your reputation.
You got it. And those fines, they're not just a scary story. The report mentioned Vale SA, the mining company. They got hit with a $56 million fine because they gave misleading info after a dam collapsed. And then there's the FTC. They're cracking down on greenwashing. Kohl's, Walmart, those big names got hit with multi-million-dollar fines because they made some iffy environmental claims.
Yikes. Yeah, that's gotta hurt. Seems like the message is pretty clear, though, right? Transparency and accuracy are everything. And you need to actually have the data to back it all up.
You nailed it. This report, it really hammers home how important it is to have, high-quality data that's actually audit-ready. We're not just telling stories anymore. It's all about the numbers, the metrics.
Makes sense. But I bet for a lot of companies, especially big global ones, even getting that data in the first place is a huge task.
Absolutely. And that's where tech comes in. This report, it really highlights how software can be a game changer for all this ESG reporting. They even have this diagram, figure 1. It shows the whole ESG reporting life cycle.
Okay, so let's talk tech. What should companies actually be looking for in an ESG reporting platform?
Well, one thing is automated data ingestion. Think about it. Trying to collect data from your entire supply chain manually, that's just asking for errors. And who has the time, right? Automating that's essential.
Like having a personal assistant to deal with all that paperwork instead of doing it yourself.
Exactly. And then there's framework mapping.
Well,
we talked about all the different regulations, right? Companies need a way to make sure their data actually lines up with whatever framework they need to report against.
So the software is like a universal translator for ESG.
Exactly. And we can't forget about compliance updates. Things change so fast in this space. New rules pop up all the time. It's crucial to have a system that keeps you updated.
Like having a whole compliance team working behind the scenes, making sure you're always up to date.
Exactly. That's just a taste of what tech can do to make ESG reporting smoother. But the report makes this really clear. Technology is a tool. It's not magic.
So you can't just, throw software at it and expect everything to be fine.
Right. Tech can automate things, make data easier to handle, but you still need good governance, a solid ESG strategy, and a real commitment to transparency.
It's about using tech the right way, not just checking a box.
Exactly. And this is what I find really exciting about this whole mandatory ESG reporting thing. Yeah, it's a challenge, but it's also a huge opportunity. Companies that can really use this ESG data, they're the ones who'll come out ahead.
I was hoping we'd get to that. It seems like the companies that can collect, analyze, and use their ESG data well, they're the ones who will really thrive, not just survive.
Totally agree. Investors are looking at ESG more and more. Consumers want to see that companies are being sustainable. The companies with strong ESG, those are the ones that'll get the investments, build trust, and do well in the long run.
It's bigger than just compliance then. It's about seeing ESG data as something valuable, something that can help you make better decisions, be more innovative, and just build a stronger business.
Absolutely. And the report even mentions some really cool innovations that could totally change how we collect and analyze ESG data.
Now you've got me curious. Like what? So instead of having to chase down information from all your suppliers, you could just, I don't know, get real-time data, like from sensors all across your supply chain.
It's wild when you think about it, right? All those insights. You could track the environmental impact of, well, everything from the very beginning to when your product is, done. And it's not even just about tracking. Think about AI. AI analyzing all of that data, finding risks you wouldn't even know to look for.
Wow, that's next level.
Yeah.
It's not just compliance then. It's like a whole different way of making decisions. What did the report call it again? The ESG reporting imperative. Sounds like the companies that really get these new technologies are going to be the ones leading the way.
Absolutely. And it's not just about individual companies either. The report really stressed how important collaboration is going to be. No one company has all the answers, right?
Yeah, go fast alone, go far together, or something like that. Sharing what works, new tech, making supply chains more transparent. That's how things actually change.
Exactly. Sharing best practices, working together on these new technologies, figuring out more sustainable ways to do things as a group. That's how we'll make real progress. It's a team effort, and the companies that get that, those are the ones that'll build a better future.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay.
So, big takeaways from this ESG reporting deep dive. Things are changing fast. But if you approach this the right way, it's not just a hurdle to clear, it's a real opportunity.
I completely agree. And I'll leave you with this. We spent a lot of time on how to do ESG reporting, but what about the future? What new technologies do you think will be the most important for getting that really accurate, reliable ESG data?
Great question. And on that note, thanks for joining us for another deep dive. We'll see you next time. And in the meantime, keep learning, keep exploring, and keep asking those big questions.